Good afternoon and welcome to TMNtv News. I'm Alicia Fireherm. Thank you for joining us after our short hiatus. Today we have some national, state, and local news for you. Hundreds of thousands of people in France have taken to the streets to protest a government reform that would move the country's retirement age from 62 to 64. According to NPR, French President Emmanuel Macron and his government believe the additional 2 years will help with a lack of funding in their pension system. Last Tuesday marked the 10th day since January that workers across the country went on strike to protest. Here is more on the situation from Money Talks News. As mentioned in the video, Macron used special constitutional powers to get the reform through the legislature without a vote. This move only angered French citizens and workers more, and several unions are calling for another day of strikes this week. Tomorrow afternoon, charges against former President Donald Trump will be made public in court, following his indictment by a New York grand jury. While the charges against Trump are currently unknown, NPR reports he is likely to be charged with falsifying business records. From the Tribune News Service, here is more on what we can expect tomorrow afternoon.
President Donald Trump was indicted this week. It is the first time in U.S. history a former president or any president has ever been charged. But what happens next, and what should we anticipate moving into next week on Tuesday afternoon? Joining us now to talk about it is Carlos Singh, a San Jose State lecturer. Carlos, good to have you with us on this Saturday.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Well, let's start. The indictment remains sealed until Tuesday. Do you think it will be made public in court on Tuesday? And what charges are possibly in play?
Well, my understanding is that the arraignment will happen on Tuesday afternoon, Eastern time. And at that point, the indictment will be unsealed. Thereafter, Mr. Trump will be advised of the charges. He'll be asked to enter a plea, presumably not guilty. And then he'll be advised of his constitutional rights. Bail will be determined, and the next court dates will be set. And so that's my anticipation in terms of what will happen on Tuesday, apart from all the publicity that is happening that we're all aware about.
What kind of impact do you think the indictment could have on other investigations that are related to Mr. Trump that are currently underway? Some say they are even stronger, like his role in the January 6th insurrection, the Georgia election controversy, and the handling of the documents found at Mar-a-Lago.
Yes. My sense is that it's not going to change, and those cases will carry their course. There is the thinking, and it is my understanding based on what I'm hearing, that the other cases are likely stronger. But nonetheless, we haven't seen the evidence in this case yet, and we won't know what the charges are until Tuesday. The speculation is, or what has been leaked, is that there are possibly up to 30 counts. And so we don't know what that is. It could involve, obviously, false business records. Some are saying campaign finance violations. Others are saying conspiracies. And right now, it's all speculation. But it's a wait-and-see situation in terms of what the evidence will be seen as the days go forward support these charges.
Do you think the case will go to trial? And if it does, How do you pick a jury for that trial?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that. My sense is that unless there are legal motions that dismiss the indictment, which some have said there are good legal arguments against the indictment, it will be an issue for the judge and the parties in terms of a fair trial. Both sides, according to the Constitution and our system of rule of law, that both sides are entitled to a fair jury, the defendant and the prosecution. And that's going to be a challenge for those parties as well as the judge. The judge is in charge of selecting a jury, making sure it's impartial, that it's fair to both sides. Obviously, most people, certainly in New York, where Mr. Trump is from, that they know of him. And so the question is going to be, can they select an unbiased jury? Or even if they've heard about the case, can they be impartial and consider the evidence and wait and see after all the evidence is in and then render a verdict? But my sense is that there will be a trial if the indictment is not dismissed through legal motions.
Let's stay on the judge. Do you think he'll permit cameras in that courtroom? Because I believe Mr. Trump would like that. He has mentioned that.
I don't think so. I know that in federal courts, cameras are not involved, or judges do not prefer them. And some state courts, they're allowed. My sense is not. And the reason for that is that there are security concerns. I'm sure that the Secret Service, who protects the president, is going to be concerned about that. Likewise, the courts. And the judge has an interest in maintaining fairness in the trial. And so this is going to be an instance where Mr. Trump is not going to be able to control the narrative. He's going to have to sit there. And while both sides may be seeking to control the courtroom, it is the judge who's going to control the courtroom. And in a sense of trying to make sure that there's a fair trial, it's unlikely that cameras will be available.
All right. Well, we got to leave it there, Carlos. But thank you for your insight. Tuesday afternoon should be some very interesting history in our country unfolding in New York City. Thanks again.
It sure will. Yeah, it's the beginning of a drama here. Thank you so much.
Some interesting theater.
Trump is also the focus of several other legal investigations that could lead to more charges, two of which involve the Justice Department. These investigations are looking at his role in the January 6th insurrection and the classified documents found in his Florida home. In other national news, tornado season has hit hard in several parts of the country this year. Areas of the South, Midwest, and even Northeast were struck by severe storms over the weekend, causing a combined 32 deaths. The most extensive damage from these storms occurred in Arkansas, Illinois, and Tennessee, just a week after Mississippi and Alabama were also struck by tornadoes. Damage was done as far east as New Jersey, where a reported 4 tornadoes touched down on Saturday. This weather activity is forecasted to continue. We have more on what people can expect, courtesy of the Tribune News Service. Friday was International Transgender Day of Visibility, a day to raise awareness of issues and discrimination transgender people face. On campus, the Fort Hays Gender and Sexuality Alliance hosted an event to teach people about the current state legislation that would have a negative impact on transgender individuals in Kansas. That same day, a group of 200 demonstrators gathered at the state capitol. According to the Kansas Reflector, this demonstration was part of the National March for Queers and Trans Youth Autonomy. Two of the most prominent bills involved transgender youth. The first, which was passed by both the House and Senate but sent back to committee, would revoke the license of any physician who performs a childhood gender reassignment service. The second, which also passed in both chambers but was vetoed by Governor Kelly, would bar transgender girls from participating on girls' sports teams at the high school and collegiate level. More about the potential impact of these bills and one similar can be found on tigermedianet.com. This week is going to be a cloudy one, with skies either partly cloudy or cloudy all week. On the bright side, we are getting into warmer temperatures. Today is only a high of 59, but tomorrow will be a high of 74 degrees. Wednesday will be the coldest day of the week with a high of only 51. Saturday and Sunday tie for the warmest day of the week spot, with both having highs of 76 degrees. Spring is my favorite season, so I'm very excited for it not to be quite so cold, but Kansas weather is kind of unpredictable. Who knows what next week will bring? To stay up to date with this forecast, visit kwch.com. After this commercial break, we'll hear from Caden Sanders on how the Fort Hays spring sports teams have been doing.
We know you'll love what you see here on our campus in Hays, America.
With over 200 academic programs, small classroom sizes, and a 96% success rate, we will make sure you get the tools you need to succeed.
We are proud to offer you 120 clubs and student organizations, over 300 different intramural activities, and countless other ways to get involved here on campus.
As the most affordable four-year institution in the entire state, we are excited to offer you the best value in education anywhere. Not to mention our robust scholarship programs to help minimize that stress of paying for college.
We hope you enjoyed Tiger Nation, and we can't wait for you to see yourself here.
Welcome back. I'm Caden Sanders, here to bring you your weekly sports update. The baseball team was back in action this weekend at home against the fourth best team in the nation in Missouri Southern. The Tigers competed all weekend and earned a game from the Lions on Sunday's tilt by the score of 7-4, but ended up losing the series as the Lions took a windy Game 1 on Friday by the final of 13-3. Then on Saturday, the Tigers had their chances on Saturday leading into the fifth inning, but ultimately lost 17-8. For more information about the series, go to tigermedianet.com. For the Tigers, they look to keep the momentum going as the team is on the road this week at non-conference Rockhurst, and then an early weekend series with the Riverhawks of Northeastern State on Thursday because of Easter weekend. The softball team was in town this weekend as well, taking on Pitt State and Missouri Southern at the FHSU softball field. The Tigers' pitching came up strong against the hot bats of the Gorillas, giving the Tigers 2 victories on the doubleheader and on Saturday by the final scores of 3-0 and 3-2. On Sunday, the Tigers took on Missouri Southern in a doubleheader. It was a team effort for the Lions as they get the win over the Tigers, earning their first victory in shutout fashion, 6-0 and then 9-1 to finish out the weekend. The softball team is currently positioned 5th in the conference and look to improve on the standings, taking on the 3rd best team in the league, Washburn, on Friday afternoon. For the golf team, they're seeing some successes on the link as they took 4th best in the NSIC Conference Preview Invitational. Jackson Raider tied 5th in the Invitational, where Dustin Nichols finished tied for 36th. Today, the team is in Dallas for the DBU Men's Classic. Live results can be found on the athletics page. For the women's golf team, they're on the road today in Wichita to compete in the Newman Invitational happening today and tomorrow. For the team, they're coming off of a 5th place finish in St. Joe at Missouri Western's Invitational. Morgan Brasser carried the Tigers to victory in the individual score, hitting an even on the course. Her final score was 144, beating her next opponent by 3 strokes. Over the weekend, the Tigers Open women's tennis team hosted Central Oklahoma and Northeastern State for matches on Saturday and Sunday. The Tigers fell to the Broncos 6-1 and then lost to the Riverhawks 5-2. This week, the Tigers are on the road competing against Missouri Western and 2 non-conference opponents in Truman State and Southwest Baptist. The track team was down in Austin, Texas to compete in the Texas Relays. The team competed against top Division I programs like Texas, Clemson, Alabama, and Georgia. For the Tigers, they earned 2 provisionals, with a 26-year-old school record being broken. Other competitors on the team competed in the Central Nebraska Classic, hosted by Nebraska Kearney and Hastings College. In the meet, the Tigers took home 4 provisionals with 4 first-place finishes. The team is back in competition later this week in Wichita to compete in the Wichita State KT Woodman Classic. Finally, the basketball season is coming down to the final teams in the nation waiting to take the championship home. For the D2 Women's Championship, the Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs, who overcame a 20-point deficit over Missouri Southern, made it to the championship game but fell to the perfect Ashland Eagles. Yesterday, the LSU Tigers won their first national championship over the superstar Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes. For the flashy and future Hall of Famer Kim Mulkey, she adds 4 trophies to her belt after winning 3 with the Baylor Bears. But tonight is the final game, as the men's national championship will be between the Yukon Huskies and the San Diego Aztecs. Tip-off is set for 7:20 local time. That's all the sports around campus and nationally. After this Fort Hays State sports schedule, Alicia will bring us more campus news.
Tiger Media Network is the student convergent media lab hub for Fort Hays State. We live broadcast all of Fort Hays' home athletic events.
Our program is a hands-on program where we give kids ample opportunity to do anything from writing stories to audio and video projects to sports productions to newscast. The sky's the limit. We tell the students whatever they can think of or dream of, we'll find a way to try to pull it off to give them that experience.
I am a junior at Fort Hays State University, and I'm a photography major. So I've done cameras, I've done tech directing, video board, a little bit of directing. I really enjoy being able to have an eye for that. It's something I've really enjoyed learning about through my 3 years here with photography. To me, photography and even just video and broadcasting kind of go hand in hand.
The future is with the kids, and the new tech gear that we have fits great into our educational model of a great learning environment for the students.
I really like the TriCaster. I like how you can make it as simple as you want, or you can go as complex as you need it to be. You know, you can pretty much do whatever you want with it.
It's a good experience. It teaches you how to work as a team, how to kind of lead things on your own.
Well, we wanted something when it came to giving our students opportunity that was going to be easy to use and applicable in a lot of different scenarios. And that's what we felt like with TriCaster and NewTek really offer.
You get a really good experience, and it's something you could easily get into.
When we pull off a great production, or they provide a great replay angle for a referee in a crucial instant, that makes you proud.
Once you start working with the TriCaster, you can really understand exactly what's going on behind the scenes.
And now it's my favorite thing to do.
When you transfer to Fort Hays State University, you discover unmatched affordability, convenience, and powerfully supportive faculty and staff, all with a determination that matches yours. Complete your degree and leap forward in your life and career with Fort Hays State University Online. The best value in education anywhere.
The end of March and beginning of April has been busy here on campus. Here's a look at what's been going on and some upcoming events. Throughout the month of April, the Hays Holocaust Remembrance Committee is hosting different events for community members to attend and learn more about the Holocaust. The event includes keynote speakers and presentations, a movie showing, book discussions, and more. This is the second year a Holocaust Remembrance and Education Month has happened in Hays. According to Amber Nickel, a Fort Hays history professor, the committee had access to more resources and connections and were able to expand on what they did last year. While talking to TMN, Nickel highlighted two events. First, keynote speaker Jake Newsome, whose presentation is April 11th. Newsome will be talking about his book, Pink Triangle Legacies, which discusses the experiences of queer men who were victims of the Holocaust. Second, Nickel discussed a presentation which will be held over Zoom and feature Ilana Blum, a survivor of the Holocaust in Romania. Blum's presentation will be shown on April 18th and 24th, followed by a question and answer session. More from Nickel about the importance of these events can be found on tigermedianet.com. We are also in the month of Ramadan. Ramadan started this year on March 22nd and is a holy month for Muslims, in which they do not eat or drink from sunrise to sunset. It is also a period of self-reflection and spiritual growth, with many people focusing on generosity and worship. Last Wednesday, the Campus Muslim Student Association hosted a feast to celebrate with other students and community members, and also to teach other students about Ramadan. After opening remarks, attendees heard passages from the Quran and listened to a presentation on what Ramadan is, why Muslims celebrate it, and why they fast. Food was then served, but only after the sun had gone down. Baklava, bread rolls, and lamb were just a few of the cultural dishes shared by students and community members. More information and photos from the event can be found on tigermedianet.com. Last week, the Student Government Association held elections for next year's administration and senators who represent each of the university's 5 colleges. Ella Burrows and Emma Day were elected to president and vice president. Their next step will be to hire executive staff members, specifically a legislative affairs director, an organization communications director, and a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. Any student is able to apply for these positions on TigerLink through April 12th. Stay tuned to our YouTube channel for a future interview with Burrows and Day about their plans for next year. Another exhibit opened in the Moss Thorns Gallery of Art on Friday. The exhibit features work from multiple art and design students, and entries include any medium of art. Several students were chosen as the winners of scholarships. Stay tuned for next week's show, where we will hear from TMN reporter Tim Shefflin about the opening. Since last year, Fort Hays Art and Design students in the Community Engaged Art class have partnered with first responders for a series of workshops. These workshops bring together students, first responders, and individuals with cognitive disabilities to create art. At last Tuesday's event, participants worked together on looms weaving yarn. Individuals with disabilities are more likely to need assistance from first responders, so the purpose of these workshops is to help everyone involved build trust and friendship in a more relaxed environment. There will be another workshop in the art building tomorrow from 3 to 5 and on April 25th from 9 to noon. More photos from the event can be seen on tigermedianet.com. And that is a wrap on today's TMNtv News. To stay up to date with local, state, and national news, visit tigermedianet.com as well as our social media pages. Thanks for watching. I'm Alicia Fireherm, and we'll see you next time.